Thanks for tuning in to No Wine in No Time. Today we have a special Valentine's Day edition which tackles the problem of pairing wine with chocolate. And believe it or not, this is one of the most difficult pairings in the world. And it's because both wine and chocolate have very similar structures. So let me explain that for a second. When we think about wines, they have varying degrees of sweetness, from sweet wine to dry wine. Chocolate also has very similar elements in that we have chocolate that is very, very sweet, and then as cacao, the thing that chocolate is made from, increases, that chocolate also dries out. So what we want to do is make sure that we match sweet with sweet and dry with dry and ensure that we have a very positive experience. So on a very superficial level, you will never be wrong pairing wine with chocolate if indeed you take a wine that is slightly sweeter than the chocolate that you're presenting and trying to pair with. That works 90% of the time. But let's get into it on a very technical level and look at different types of chocolate and how we would pair those like a professional. So the first thing we want to look at is let's take a look at a Lindt white chocolate truffle. Now, white chocolate truffle does not have the presence of cacao, so we don't want a wine with tannins in it, which will increase the dryness of the wine to match the dryness in the chocolate. This is a very sweet type of chocolate, so what I picked for this is a Moscato d'Asti, this particular one from Cascinetta Vietti. Now, why did I choose a Moscato d'Asti? Well, if we look at Moscato, Moscato is a sweet wine, but a Moscato d'Asti from the Asti province of Piedmont, Italy, this particular Moscato balances its sweetness with a little bit of acidity. When we get a white chocolate truffle, we have something that can be just a little bit cloying on the palate. So this allows it to match sweet with sweet, but also scrub out some of that sweetness from hanging around with a little bit of acidity. Now let's move to a Valentine's favorite, and that is a chocolate dipped strawberry. Now think about that. We have elements of white chocolate, we have milk chocolate, and then we have the savoriness of the fruit itself. So what I like in that particular case is champagne. And I picked the Taittinger. This is from Reims in France, and this particular sparkling wine, or bubbly, or champagne, will really stand up to the balance of flavors that we're going to get in a chocolate-covered strawberry. Now let's flip over and get into some more traditional type chocolates. And the first one that we have here, this particular one, is a Dove milk chocolate. So when we look at a Dove milk chocolate, now we have flavors of sweetness with just a slight bit of cacao in there, but a very smooth, velvety type persona. So I picked a wine like an Amarone della Valpolicella. So this is a wine from northern Italy, which they actually kind of dry out the grapes. And if we actually translate the word Amarone, it means the big bitter. So when we think about a wine that has dried grapes, we've intensified the flavor, we've intensified the sweetness, we've intensified the acid, and we've also raised the tannins. So when we have something very savory like milk chocolate, an Amarone della Valpolicella stands up perfectly to that type of product. Now we're going to move over to some Ghirardelli dark chocolate squares. And these are ones that actually rate the amount of cacao in here. And the first one we have is 60%. So in a 60% cacao type chocolate, we're drying out the chocolate quite significantly. So I chose a port in this particular situation. Now you're probably thinking, well Dave, port wine comes in a lot of different types of configurations. And you'd be correct to think about that. I picked the late bottle vintage port. So what this is this is a ruby port. And ruby ports, while they have a tremendous amount of sweetness, they also have some tannic structure, which allows it to balance a little bit. So when we think about something with 60% cacao, we want to raise our tannins. The chocolate's drying out. The wine needs to have some tannic structure to stand up to that. And that's why this particular late bottle vintage port would be perfect for that. Finally, we have Ghirardelli's 85% cacao. So this is something that's a very dry, very rich dark chocolate. And I picked a bold, powerful, very tannic wine. And this particular one is a Brunello di Montalcino. So a Brunello comes to us from Tuscany, and this is a wine that has spent 2 years in oak, then 2 years additional aging in the bottle. Very big structure, very dry, very leathery, very tannic. And one would say that an 85% cacao chocolate would have some very similar structures. So all of these different wines that we talk about are supported in other No Wine in No Time videos. So if you want to drill down on, say, an Amarone della Valpolicella, just go to the channel and look for the video on Amarone della Valpolicella, as well as all the other ones. So this time of year, pairing wine and chocolate doesn't need to be a difficult thing, but it does require a little bit of thought. So please take these things that I showed you in this video, and you'll pair like a pro, and you'll fall in love with both wine and chocolate. They both have such similar structures, and both have so much that we love about them. So thanks for tuning in, and please come back next time, and soon you'll know wine in no time.